Netflix is an amazing repository of insanity, weirdness, and human suffering. Oh, don't misunderstand, it's also incredibly entertaining. But between their original shows and the decades worth of classic series available to binge watch, let's just say that the dark corners of Netflix are truly dark indeed. So what are the weirdest, darkest shows on Netflix? Hey, glad you asked. Stranger Things. The first season of Stranger Things took the world by storm when it hit Netflix in 2016. The moody atmosphere, nostalgic 80s vibe, and rockstar performances, shout out to Winona Ryder, resonated so well with fans that it was almost immediately picked up for a second season. And sure, you've heard the hype over and over again, but this is one of those rare, once-in-a-decade shows that truly deserves every bit of water cooler praise. If you haven't dropped an evening on Stranger Things yet, give it a shot. If you have seen it, well, it only gets better with a second viewing. The OA. Another Netflix exclusive, The OA is a sci-fi mystery thriller that starts with a bang and just keeps on rolling. Playing out like the crossroads between Stranger Things, The 4400, and another hidden Netflix gem, Awake, The OA keeps things low-key, ramping up the intensity with each consecutive episode. But where The OA really excels is in its deft blending of genres, serving up healthy portions of sci-fi, fantasy, Hitchcockian mystery, and plain, hair-tearing questions, the kinds that keep you hooked until the final episode. Let's not talk about the plot. It's just one of those shows where knowing what happens makes or breaks it. Do yourself a favor and queue it up. Then sit back and enjoy the ride. American Horror Story. There's an idea out there that if it's mainstream, it can't really be true horror. And then there's American Horror Story, which totally and thoroughly disproves this forever. Yeah, it's been getting tons of media hype over the past few years, and has won 4 Primetime Emmys and 2 Golden Globes. But you know what? That's because it totally earned all the accolades and attention by being the creepiest, best horror show on television since, well, maybe ever. If you haven't watched it yet, just know that until you do, you really ain't seen nothing yet. Making a Murderer. There's fictional darkness, and then there's that special kind of darkness that only happens when the story being told is all too true. The 10-part documentary series, Making a Murderer, follows the story of Stephen Avery, a man who was wrongly convicted of a sexual assault and attempted murder, and spent 18 years in jail before being exonerated. He wasn't free long though. Soon he was arrested again and sent to prison for murder. But did he actually do it? Or has justice failed a second time? Some horror stories are too scary to be fictional. Black Mirror. The sci-fi horror anthology Black Mirror is a spiritual successor to The Twilight Zone, only with modern stories, sensibilities, and effects. Originally debuting on England's Channel 4, it moved to Netflix for the 3rd season, making this the perfect time to catch up on everything you missed over the first 2 seasons. What you've missed, by the way, is one of the best and most acclaimed shows on TV, with an amazing cast that includes the likes of Jon Hamm, Domhnall Gleeson, and Rupert Everett. There's nothing like it on television. Jessica Jones. It may take place in the same comic book universe as Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, but Jessica Jones is a world apart in style and substance. A dizzying descent into manipulation and abuse, both physical and emotional. Jessica Jones pushes the boundaries not just of superhero television, but of television in general. It's a knife cutting straight into the black heart of our culture and exposing the darkness within the recesses of even the purest souls. Attack on Titan. Either you dig anime or you don't. That's cool, it's the way of things. But there's anime, and then there's Attack on Titan. The story of the last human survivors living inside a walled city to protect themselves from enormous human-eating giants. Attack on Titan is a smorgasbord of rich visuals, explosive action like swords and jetpacks, and some seriously dark themes. The downside? The episodes are so short, at just 20 minutes long. You find yourself clicking to the next one without even thinking about it. And eventually you realize you've wasted a whole day, you're starving, and somewhere in the house there's a baby crying. Did you even have a baby before you started watching the show? Those freaking cliffhangers! The X-Files. Few people alive today got through the 90s without seeing at least one episode of The X-Files. For many of us, it was required Friday night viewing, a distinguished event on par with Taco Tuesday. It was File Friday? But way better than that sounds. It doesn't really matter whether you've watched the follow-up series revamp or not, there's never a bad time to settle in for a marathon with old-school Scully and Mulder. And you've got to hand it to showrunner Chris Carter and the whole crew who put the X-Files together. Few things made it through the 90s with a firm grip on their cultural relevance the way the X-Files did. Dexter. Before Daredevil rocked our Netflix queues and before American Horror Story let us revel in mainstream gore, there was Dexter, the original blood-splattered serial-killing anti-hero and a lovable goof. Starring Michael C. Hall as the affable maniac, Dexter premiered in 2006 and ran for 8 solid seasons of well-meaning slaughter. It's darkly funny and hauntingly uncomfortable at the same time, a surgical hurricane that sucks you in the gut and makes you beg for more. The Returned. No, not the tepid American remake. The original French horror series The Returned, also known as Les Revenants, is the one to watch. But this doesn't have anything to do with Leonardo DiCaprio being eaten by a bear. It's actually much worse than that, as a number of dead people mysteriously return to life with no idea how or why, and then things start getting really creepy. Check it out, but don't worry about the subtitles. Focusing on reading might be the only way to keep calm once the real terror begins. Hemlock Grove. Executive produced by horror master Eli Roth, and based on the hit novel of the same name by Brian McGreevy, Hemlock Grove is an original Netflix series that delves into one small town's dark secrets. Turns out it's almost harder to keep those secrets buried than it is to keep the bodies underground, as both the revelations and the corpses begin to pile up. Oh, and there are werewolves. Yeah, imagine True Detective crossed with H.P. Lovecraft, and you'll start to get an idea of the show's tone. Sense8. Not many people realize that Netflix has a collaboration between Babylon 5 creator J. Michael Straczynski and the Matrix mastermind the Wachowskis. Not only is the show real, but you can binge watch it right now. Sense8 follows the story of 8 people around the globe who suddenly develop a psychic link that allows them to tap into each other's knowledge, skills, and emotions. It's weird, crazy stuff. Exactly what you'd expect from people who always deliver the unexpected. The Fall. At this point, Gillian Anderson can do no wrong. Between The X-Files, Hannibal, and American Gods, the woman is a force of nature, and with that kind of lineup, you'd be forgiven for missing her in The Fall. Yet another killer show on Anderson's resume. But the fact is, while Gillian Anderson is great in The Fall, it's Jamie Dornan who brings the show home as serial killer Paul Spector. If you're itching for another lightning-paced, hard-hitting crime thriller to fill the hole left in your heart after the first season of True Detective, look no further than The Fall. Twin Peaks. You just can't have a list of the weirdest and darkest shows on Netflix without a mention of the granddaddy of weird television, David Lynch's epic masterpiece Twin Peaks. It'd be great to tell you what it's all about, but after more than a quarter century studying it, we still have no idea whatsoever.
Brilliant! I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Suffice it to say that major characters include a dead woman, a psychic log, and a mysterious spirit dwarf. Imagine American Horror Story with the craziness ratcheted up 100 more notches, and you'll start to get an idea what Twin Peaks is like. But the only way to truly know is to experience it yourself. And with an all-new season on its way, what are you waiting for? A cup of coffee?
This is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.
Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.